Hi, welcome back to another TerranScapes video. Little delay in getting up some videos recently as I had some major computer problems, but Dell has been happy enough to put a new hard drive into my laptop, so I'm back in action and back on the electronic front, hopefully bringing you videos over the next week or so. But today I wanted to show you, as the first project to put up, the ruins of Amon Sul, which is the weathertop ruins that are featured in the Lord of the Rings book and movie and game. And this is the Forgeworld piece that a customer has sent to me to finish. And what I'd like to do is give you a good look at this piece, show you some things that I noticed about it. There were some minor problems or defects, things that could be fixed. Give you some ideas on how I plan on tackling it, and at least give you a chance, if you haven't seen this piece up close, to get a good look at it. Taking a look online, I didn't see very many of these shown in very good detail. The Forgeworld site doesn't have a lot of up-close videos, so I'm going to try to give you a really in-depth look at this and show you some of the things that I've noticed about it. So, taking a look at it up close, first thing to say about it is it's a very large piece. It's enormous. It measures 16 inches across to the far points on either direction. Stands about 6 inches tall, and when it's assembled, features let's see here, features five, I believe it's five, yeah, 5 columns that arch inward that have various amounts of damage. It has statues in each of the arches, some of which have been damaged. Some you have to put in when you assemble it. The structure comes basically with the entire base cast as a single piece, and then all of the upright structures that you see are attached. I had quite a debate about whether to assemble it first and then paint it, as there's going to be a couple areas that are going to be tricky to get paint into. One area in particular is in this stairwell down in here. Of course, my rule of thumb is if you can see it, you can paint it, and also if you can't see it well, people can't see it well when they look at it either. So, there's some forgiveness in an area like this when you're painting it, but it was something I debated for quite a while. In the end, I decided to assemble it first. Main reason being that there are several places where there's going to be some need of some fixing, and I feel like I'd rather fix it with green stuff and smooth out areas now before I do any painting or priming, rather than try to assemble painted pieces and not have them join correctly. Couple areas of note. Let's see if I can keep this in frame. You'll notice, and that probably gives you a pretty good shot, the pillars that sit, there's a receptacle here, and the pillars overhang just a little bit. My suspicion is that the mold is expanding as they pour resin, making this piece larger and larger over time, and then this piece is, because it's in a deep well of resin, rubber, it's not expanding as much, and so it's retaining more of its original shape. So you have some areas where it doesn't quite join. Key point in here as well, there's a join that doesn't quite meet, and that's pretty true most of the way around. This is a pretty good seam here, actually. That's a pretty tight one, but you can see again here. Let me see if I can turn that on an angle so you can see that better. There you go. You can kind of see there's a little lip. Nothing major, but it is something to consider when you're finishing something like this, about with a level of of finishing that you're going to want to do. In this area in here, this piece is an inserted piece, and so is this top piece here. And then what you have to do is you have to insert this row of columns in between these two sections. And this was an incredibly tight fit, actually. It really didn't want to sit in there very well, and I had to sand down this area in here. Whoop, my hand is in the way. Sorry about that. I had to sand it in between both sides of this area to try to get this pillar to sit a little more vertically when it was inserted, because there are a few pieces of rubble along the corners where they are sort of receiving the bottoms of these pillars, and so there's a preformed placement to it, and so in the end, and you can see in here, that produced quite a gap right there, These are some of the areas that will need to be filled when the model's finished. Also of note, was the amount of bubbles in the cast. I've never actually seen a Forgeworld piece up close, and my friends who have purchased Titans and things in the past have mentioned that they don't have as many bubbles as was in this piece. But you can see, and in the rubble, which is, you know, oh, wait a minute. Sorry, this is a really heavy piece. Why am I struggling to show this to you? It weighs 8 pounds. It's 8.5 pounds of resin in an open pour. They just have a big open mold, and they're hand pouring this into it. So you can see some bubbles in the surface. This is not unusual, but that's a lot of resin there. So it's a little awkward for me to hold at arm's length when I'm behind the camera here. So I'll try to do my best. Let's see. So you can see, you know, there's lots of tiny little bubbles scattered throughout. You can see them pucked in there. And, you know, again, as somebody who's cast a lot of resin, it's difficult to cast something like this that's a deep pour and not end up with some bubbles. I might throw it in a vacuum chamber to try to eliminate those, but this is a pretty large piece, so perhaps it might be really difficult to do that. And they do send a pamphlet with it that mentions you should expect some bubbles in it because of its hand cast nature. So, there's some definite cleanup to be done in here, some gaps to be filled. Taking a look, and you can see, let's see if I can get you close up on that. You know, so you can see, again, there are quite a few bubbles in some of these points scattered throughout. So there is definitely some work to be done to clean that up. A couple points of interest that surprised me, I didn't expect. In this corner, let's see if I can bring it up here a little bit closer for you to see. There's a bush. I didn't expect there to be any vegetation in this, and there's a bush in here, and there's a hint of some branches underneath in that little gap right there. There's what appears to be some vegetation clumped on the top here, and a little bush in the back on the corner here. So that was a surprise. I didn't quite expect that. One of the nice things about seeing this, and I'm going to talk about in the second video a little bit about how I'm going to build a weather top. I'm redoing that piece and some ideas I have for it. But it's nice to be able to see the rocks that are around this base up close and to get a sense of their texture and their general size and shape. And that might be something I can emulate on the mountain to help tie these pieces together, as the stratified rocks that I had done in the past wouldn't really match this quite well. And so it'd be nice to try to keep it a little more uniform with the surrounding terrain that it's going to be placed on. One interesting note I didn't realize, it's copyrighted NLP. I believe that's New Line Productions. So New Line Productions, New Line Cinema owns the rights to this you know, master of this mold. Let's see, anything else really to mention? I don't know. I guess that's probably enough to give you a sense of what it's like and how it's put together, and some of the challenges that will be imposed in finishing it. Plan on you know, trying to really weather it, you know, with a lot of powders, give it an old dusty look, put in some rain streaking, and probably put in scattered bits of vegetation and cracks and crevices, little grasses sticking up. I seem to recall that from the movie, and it gives it a little bit more of an organic feel. Like there's definitely some encroachment, but you can't do too much. You don't want to take away from the piece. It's so beautiful and has so much potential all on its own. But there's definitely some opportunities to take a little or a bit of the outside world into the interior of this. One thing as a last note, it's kind of interesting the way it's been textured. Oh, wait a minute, I'm off camera again. Sorry about that. This is a tough piece. It's big. The way they've textured the outside edges, it's kind of got a sand feel, but it's also kind of got a mossy feel. You know, the texture that they've put in is kind of open to interpretation. So once I get this primed, I'll probably be, you know, thinking about, well, probably going in with a soil look. But because of its texture, and, you know, it's kind of got, well, here's a good side view. You can see that there. It's a little interesting. But some of that's going to be covered up with flock, some static grasses, so we'll see how that comes out in the end. Oh, and as a last piece, also included with this after it's assembled, is a small standalone piece that shows one of the broken arches and actually fits. I think I got it lined up right now. I think it fits, if I recall correctly, right in something like that. I have to check. There's a little spot where it just sort of sits nice and tight. I think it's in that spot. Maybe it's over here. Anyway, but I'm going to leave this freestanding so that it could be moved around, removed, ease of access, could be placed outside of the ruins for a little added feature. But it's a nice little extra piece I didn't expect to come with it, as I hadn't seen that featured in any of the photos that I'd seen on the web. So I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the Forgeworld ruins of Amon Sul. If you haven't visited Forgeworld and seen the work that they do, you should definitely take a look. They specialize in large resin kits with exquisite detail, and I think they did a really nice job in capturing the aesthetics of the the movie set piece for this setting, and I think it's going to be a really fun piece to finish up. I also want to encourage you to follow along with the video I'm going to post right after this that will feature the discussion of the design intent for the weathertop mountain that this will sit on. And I'm going to be referencing this model in some of its model specifications versus some of the diagrams and pictures of what's commonly out there or what I've been provided with. So keep this one in mind when you watch that video. And we're going to follow along where I together will follow along with this project as it progresses, and we'll see hopefully at the end both of them come together to make one finished piece that I think is going to look pretty good. And if you have any questions or comments, of course, you can always use the comment section down below. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And if you want to email me, it's mike@TerranScapes.com, and you can contact me that way as well with any questions, concerns, ideas that you have. I'm always eager to touch base with the community and get some feedback that way. So thanks for watching, taking the time to watch, and stay tuned. I'll have some more videos real soon.